Hi, my name is Wayne Brockbank. I'm here today to talk to you about perhaps the core element of the HR transformation. That is, I'm here today to visit with you about the establishment of a powerful HR strategy. Before I begin to talk about the process for laying out an HR strategy, I'd first like to define what it means for HR to be strategic. Before we define what it means for HR to be strategic, first we need to define what it means to be strategic. Something is strategic if it meets all of 5 criteria. First of all, to be strategic, something must be sustainable. It can't just be short-term, it has to be sustainable. Second, it has to add substantial value beyond that value which the competitors can add. If you're only adding value that's less than the competition, then it's not very strategic. Third, it has to be comprehensive. A strategy, something strategic that covers the whole organization, not just pieces of it. Fourth, something is strategic if it integrates the firm and makes the firm whole worth more than the sum of the parts. And finally, something is strategic if it can be translated into specific and powerful actions. The question is then, what is it that HR does that meets all of those criteria of being integrated, comprehensive, adding value beyond that of the competition, that is sustainable and is actionable? For many years at the RBL Group, we've been stating that the most high value added agenda for the HR profession is the creation and sustaining of organization capabilities, including cultural capabilities. We've also developed an 8-step process that I'm going to describe today by which you can develop a powerful HR strategy. Step 1 is first you need to be clear on the organization unit for which you're going to develop your HR strategy. Are you going to develop the HR strategy for a business unit, for a plant, for a division, or for the corporation as a whole? That has to be clearly designed and specified. The dangers are that if you don't get that right, then you can be in all kinds of trouble as you go down the further steps in designing your HR strategy. If you make, for example, the assumption that you're in a highly disparate company, highly diversified company, where the differences far outweigh the similarities across the businesses, then you'd better start your HR strategy logic at the business unit. However, if it's a large integrated corporation where the similarities outweigh the differences, then you're safe to begin your HR strategy logic at the corporate level. The second step is you must then have a clear and precise prioritized definition of what's going on in your business environment. What are the trends that we face today, and where are those trends leading us to in the future? With the assumption that nothing we do on the inside matters unless it finally results in positive cash flow from the outside. Third, then we have to translate those external requirements and expectations into what we do on the inside. That is, what is the business strategy? What are the ways in which we choose to compete as a company? Fourth, once we understand the business unit, the external environment, and our business strategy, then we're in a position to define what are the organization capabilities we need to have. What are the organization capabilities, and what kind of a culture do we need to have to make those capabilities a reality? We need to not only be able to specify the organizational capabilities and cultural capabilities, but we need to translate them into how people are going to behave. The question that we like to ask ourselves as we help clients to define their HR strategy, specifically once we've defined the organization capabilities that are required, we then ask the question, how will people behave differently in the future than they do today if those capabilities were being executed at an ideal level? So those organizational and cultural capabilities finally have to be expressed in terms of what people do. Then the fifth step is we not only need to define what the capabilities we need to have more of, but we also need to define what we need to have less of. And that's step 5. Step 6 then is to have a clear definition of which of our HR practices are currently being designed and delivered to make those capabilities a reality, and which are not. Therefore, we can prioritize, identify, and execute those HR practices that will give us greatest impact on the capabilities we need to create, and to help us to not focus on those that may not have any impact on the capabilities that we need most desperately to compete better. That's step 6. Step 7 then is how do we then take this logic and translate it into a specific set of accountabilities and action plans that can then be carried out over a reasonable period of time. Step 7 then, or step 8, is how do we then make sure we have a measurement system in place to measure whether in fact the HR strategy as it is executed is creating the value that we want it to have. That is value as defined first by the customers on the outside, by the execution of the strategy on the inside, by the creation and sustaining of organization capabilities, and by the execution of our HR practices. As we then measure those, measure HR's value added to each of those levels, the strategy we've developed therefore can take root, and we can show to senior line executives and to ourselves the value that we've created through a powerful HR strategy. Good luck and Godspeed to all of you.